So we're going to go ahead and circle X. It's a missing angle. Then we're going to label our sides. So across from X is going to be the opposite. And next to the X is going to be the adjacent. All right, we don't know what the hypotenuse is. Okay, so opposite over adjacent. Well, if we have the opposite and adjacent, that sounds like the TOA from SOHCAHTOA. So we're going to use the tangent of X equals 8 over 17. And remember, to figure out what X is, we have to undo or remove the tangent from the left. And the way we get rid of the tangent and move it to the right is using arctan, or the tan inverse. So to move the tangent over to here, the X comes down by itself, and then I put tan inverse of 8 over 17 on the right. And then that will equal, we'll go to the calculator. Hopefully you guys can see the calculator on the screen. And we're going to go ahead and say shift a tan for tan inverse of, let's see, what were the numbers again? Of 8 over 17. Hit enter. 25.20. Okay, so our missing angle is 25.20 degrees. All right, and I do want you to get in the habit of putting the degree sign when we're talking about an angle, but if you forgot it, that's okay. You'll just get it next time. All right. All right, and now we're going to go to the triangle on the right. So this time they give us the angle of 24 degrees. We start by circling it. Across from it is the opposite, and then we have the hypotenuse. Okay, so if we have an opposite and hypotenuse, it sounds like the SO from SOHCAHTOA, opposite and hypotenuse. So I'm going to do the sine of 24 equals the opposite is 7 over the hypotenuse, which is y. We're going to solve for y by cross multiplying, or switching the y and the sine of 24. That's a little trick. Y over sine of 24. Then I'm going to go to my calculator again. There is this free app. You can go to the App Store and download the HP Prime. So now I'm going to do the, what was the number? I always forget. 7 divided by sine of 24. Okay, so 7 divided by sine of 24 equals 17.21. So that's the y equals 17.21. That is the length of the missing side. Oops. Okay. Right here. All right. Very good. Here we go. Solving right triangles using Trig. This will be an application of all the skills we have learned so far in Trig, using, well, mostly 10.3 skills. And basically what solving right triangles means is that we're going to use our knowledge of Trig to figure out all pieces of information about a triangle. So we're going to eventually know all sides A, B, and C, and both angles. And it's relatively simple to do it. It just takes a little bit of concentration, and then we're there. So let's do the first example together. So solve the triangle, which means find all information or parts of the triangle, and given a right triangle ABC. All right, so A, B, C. And across from A is side A, across from B is side B, and across from C to 90 degrees is always C, which is the hypotenuse. Okay, so A, B, C. That maps with the Pythagorean theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That's why these sides are labeled as such. Okay. Now we're going to fill in the triangle with the information given. So it tells us that C is 90 degrees. All right, that's already 90 degrees. A, the angle of A right here, is 34.6 degrees. Very nice. And side A is 120. All right. So now our job is going to be to find B, C, and angle B up here. Actually, angle B is the easiest to find to start with. So angle B, it's not a less than sign, it's an angle sign. Notice it looks same over here. It's a little different from a less than sign if you were to compare the two on a computer. Okay, so angle B is going to be 90 minus 34.6, and that's going to give us 55.4. So you can figure that out by hand or on a calculator. 55.4 degrees. Okay, it's a little degree symbol, not a zero. All right, now we can begin to find sides B and C. So let's figure this out in reference to A and angle A. So in reference to angle A, this side is the opposite, side B is the adjacent, and then C we know is the hypotenuse. So to figure out, let's start with the missing side here, B. We have the opposite. Excuse me, I just sneezed. In the adjacent side. So opposite and adjacent, that's going to be the tangent from TOA, opposite and adjacent. So that tells us to do like we have done in the past, the tangent now of whatever our degree is, 34.6, is equal to the opposite, 120, divided by the adjacent, which is side B, which we don't know. We are going to cross multiply and switch, and we get B equals 120 divided by the tangent of 34.6. If we go to the calculator, so 120 divided by the tangent of 34.6 is going to equal 173.94. All right. B equals 173.94. And it's okay to leave it like that, or you can round up. I would accept either one. Okay, so we have one piece down, one piece to go. Now we got to find C. We're going to do it in reference to angle A. It's just easier this way. So 34.6 is our angle, opposite, and hypotenuse. So what trig function do we use for the opposite and hypotenuse? The sine function. So from SOHCAHTOA. So the sine of 34.6 equals opposite is 120 over the hypotenuse, which is C. Now we're going to use our trick. Flip places. C equals 120 divided by the sine of 34.6. And let's go ahead and do this on the calculator. It should be longer than either of the other two sides. So 120 divided by the sine of 34.6 equals 211.32. All right, and this time I would be fine to round down to 211, just for the sake of making it neat. Okay, so that is how we can find both of our sides and our missing angle given the information they provide. So again, they provided two angles and one side. So when that's the case, you're going to be solving for the missing sides, B and C. All right, angle of A is 36 degrees. So that's the angle right here. The angle of C is 90. Okay, this time we have to add it in. And the length of B is 50 degrees. All right, so just using our angle and this side right here, we're going to be able to figure out the other sides of the triangle, as well as the missing angle for B, which we'll call theta. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll start with this angle theta. That's the easiest thing to figure out. All right, so theta is going to equal 90 minus 36. That's going to equal, should equal 54. And that is correct, 54 degrees. Next, we will go ahead and why don't we just try to solve for the hypotenuse, C. So we have the adjacent to our angle in the corner, or angle A, and the hypotenuse. So why don't we remember adjacent and hypotenuse? That's the ka from SOHCAHTOA. So the cosine of 36 is going to equal 50 over our missing side, which is C. All right, now we're going to cross multiply and switch these. So C is going to equal 50 divided by the cosine of 36. And we'll go to the calculator. $61.80 is the side length, so we'll just do 61.8. All right, so now we've found C. And again, to find our missing side A, we have a couple of options. We could use the Pythagorean theorem, or we can use trig in reference to this angle here, the 36 degrees. It is completely up to you which method you want to do, but I think from the last example we saw that using trig is a little bit simpler. So we have our reference angle, we have our opposite adjacent, or opposite and hypotenuse. So why don't we do it in reference to this side, the 50 degrees, or the length of 50 again. So the opposite and adjacent. All right, we're going to solve for A. So this time, I'll do it off to the left here. The tangent is in reference to the opposite and adjacent. So the tangent of 36 degrees is equal to the opposite, which is A, over the adjacent, which we know is 50. All right, now I'm just going to be able to multiply the 50 across. And so we get 50 times the tangent of 36. And I'll put the A on this side. A equals 50 times the tangent of 36. Go to the calculator. 50 tan 36 equals 36.327. So 36.33. Or 36.33, 36.3. Okay, so now we know what this side equals. A equals 36.33. And we have completed this triangle. We've solved for all the missing pieces. We found angle B. Angle A was given to us. We found the adjacent side. Or no, that was already given, but we found the opposite and the hypotenuse. So very good. So example 2. This time, they initially do not give you a triangle, so you're going to have to draw your own triangle and label the sides, and we're going to learn how to label it. So make your triangle, and then the bottom corner, wherever you have 90 degrees, you're going to put the 90-degree symbol. That's always a given in right triangles. And then we're going to label it around clockwise, A, B, and C. And so across from A is side A, across from B is side B, and across from C is side C. If we look at the information they've given us, so okay, we already knew that the angle is going to be 90 degrees. A is 19.2. C, the hypotenuse is 47.8. Let's start by finding angle A. All right. So we have in reference to A, we have the opposite in the hypotenuse. So that sounds like so from SOHCAHTOA, opposite over hypotenuse. So the sine of A, meaning angle A, is going to equal the opposite, 19.2, over the hypotenuse, 47.8. So you get rid of the sign in front of the sign of A, or in front of the A. We're going to move it to the other side by using the sign inverse, or the arc sign. So then we're left with A by itself on the left, That's going to equal now sine inverse on the right. That's how you move it to the other side. Of 19.2 over 47.8. And let's go to the calculator. Okay, so shift arcsine of 19.2 divided by 47.8 is going to equal 23.682. So we're going to round that up to 23.68. Doesn't round up, and that is degrees. Okay, so great. So we've got this side 23.68 degrees. Now let's find the other angle. Since we know one angle, we can figure out the other. So let's do angle B. It's going to equal 90 minus 23 point, well, why don't we round up for the sake of this subtraction, 23.7. So angle B is going to equal 66.3 degrees. Again, I could figure that out because the other two interior angles of a triangle must add up to 90. So 90 minus the angle we knew gives us 66.3. Next, we're going to find our last and final piece, side B. All right, so that's going to be, let's figure it out in reference to angle A. So in reference to angle A, this is the adjacent. All right, so we can use the adjacent in the hypotenuse or the opposite in the adjacent and our angle 23.68 to figure out what side B is. So why don't we pick the opposite and the adjacent? All right, so that tells us TOA, opposite and adjacent. The tangent of our angle 23.68 is going to be equal to the opposite 19.2 over the adjacent, which we don't know. Then we'll use our trick to switch these two. So B equals 19.2 divided by tangent 23.68. I'll go to the calculator. 19.2 divided by tangent 23.68 equals 43.78. All right. B equals 43.78. So, gentlemen, the reason I like you going out to the 100th place is because when you're plugging it into the calculator, it makes your answers more precise and accurate. But if you end up rounding up to the tenths, 43.8, that's fine, but it just makes your answer a little less precise. I would prefer you to stick with the hundredths. All right, that is the solution for all parts of triangle in example 2. Why don't you pause the video and go to the one down here to try on your own. And what you might have noticed is that I did this incorrectly. That is not the information you want. So you're going to have to rewrite this information. Angle C is equal to 90 degrees. Okay, that's always the case. And this, what I really wanted you to have is B equals 480 and A, side A equals 550. Sorry about that. All right, using that information, go ahead and solve the related triangle for all pieces. So hit pause and do this now. All right, let's go ahead and solve it. So we're going to set up our triangle like we did the previous example. We know that the corner is going to be here is at 90 degrees. We'll label the corners A, B, C. So this is side C, this is A, this is B. And we know that A is equal to 550 and B is equal to 480. Doesn't matter that one side is longer than the other. We want to figure out our missing angles and our C. Let's start by solving for angle A again. So we have our solve in reference to angle A, adjacent and opposite. Okay, so opposite and adjacent, that's going to be a TOA, so COTOA. So tangent of A is equal to the opposite, 550 over the adjacent, 480. All right, but we want to figure out A, so to get rid of the tangent, you're going to have to move it over there. You're going to have to take the tan inverse of both sides, and that leaves us with A equals tan inverse of 550 divided by 480, which is going to equal, let's go to the calculator, shift tan, which gives us the arctan of 550 divided by 480, 48.887, so we can round that up to 48.9 degrees. All right, now we can figure out angle B very easily. 90 minus 48.9. Okay, yeah, just for the sake of finding our interior angles, it's easier to have this rounded to a tenth. All right, so 90 minus 48.9 gives us 41.1 degrees. Okay, that's a little degree sign right there, not a 0. Okay, let's find our last piece, our hypotenuse. So there's a number of ways we can do that, but why don't we do it in reference to angle A again? That's what we've been doing the whole time. You could figure out in reference to B, but then you have to relabel the sides. This would be the opposite. This would be the adjacent in respect to B. So let's just stick with angle A. All right. So we have C is the hypotenuse. Here we have A is the opposite and B is adjacent. So why don't this time we do use angle A in reference to the opposite and the hypotenuse to figure out the hypotenuse. So that would be opposite and hypotenuse gives us so for SOHCAHTOA. So the sine of A, sorry, we know what A is now. Sine of 48.9 is equal to the opposite, 550, divided by the hypotenuse, which is C. Opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, we can do our trick, cross multiply and switch. So C equals 550 divided by the sine of 48.9. That's going to require the calculator. Oh, somehow I got the arc sign. Okay, 550 divided by, probably did that, sine 48.9. Here we go, this is the right one. And we get a large side, 729.86. So the missing side is 720. So yes, so 729.86. And that would round up. Sorry. Yeah, and that would, you could round up to 730, but I would be fine if you left it like this. All right, that takes us through our notes packet for today. Thank you for listening and following along. Your instructions now are to go to the additional sheet, the homework sheet, and get started on that. And in this, one last thing, the homework sheet that you've been given, in addition to the note sheet, is the homework for today. So you're going to have to, on Canvas, remember to take pictures and upload it to Canvas under the 10.5 homework. All right, very good.